Hi there, good noon and welcome to this last leg of our preparation in a way. I shouldn't exactly say it is the last leg, but this is that last inflection point in time where great scores can be made. So anybody who starts working hard from this juncture onwards can have a very realistic possibility of going ahead towards 99 percentile. And in case you're curious to know how, that's exactly what the session is about. So I welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep channel dedicated to your success as an MBA aspirant. I have a slightly hoarse throat today, so my apologies in advance, but so I'd probably be, I seem to have a frog in my throat, I'd probably be doing that a little more, but if you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you start getting the notifications. See, if you do not really press that bell icon or you don't subscribe, then your and my meeting becomes just a matter of chance. You're scrolling and you may see me. But if you want to ensure that you learn everything that I have to offer, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. My name is Vikrant. I'm your personal coach for all things English and communications. And today we happen to have a strategy session that will talk about getting a 99 percentile in our exam. So let me share a very straightforward plan with you. So if you say, how do we go on to get a 99 percentile? The answer is going to be very simple. The plan involves three things. The first one is where you go ahead and wrap up the syllabus. And once you have wrapped up the syllabus, the next one talks about facing the mirror. And you may wonder, yaar ye kya hai? Matlab, what is being talked about? And then finally, taking effective corrective action. So think of corrective action as a single unit for the time being. So you want to take corrective action, okay? You want to fix the issues that emerge. So the action that you take, the corrective action that you take must be effective. So these are the three things that I plan to go ahead and talk about. And if you have any ambiguity, confusion, doubt, make sure that you drop it in the chat below and I definitely help you during the course of this particular session. So let us start with the first point, and that is wrapping up the syllabus. So by now I expect you to know the syllabus, but just in case you do not, if you're working with me in my batches, you obviously know the syllabus, but just in case you do not, let me tell you what the syllabus is once again. So when it comes to English, we divide the entire English into 5 different modules. So you have this module called verbal ability, a module called reading comprehension, a module called grammar, and then vocabulary, and then verbal reasoning, right? And as you can see, it's a pyramid. So the pyramid tells you that whatever is below is required by whatever comes above. So there are these relationships, there are these linkages that you would see in this particular syllabus. So verbal reasoning is practically going to be the foundation of your entire plan. If you're weak at verbal reasoning, chances are that you'd struggle to get an above average score. So I hope by now you've mastered it. If you haven't, we talk about what can be done. Then vocabulary as well as grammar, both of these are knowledge based areas where you need to continue to add to your knowledge in order to be comfortable. Then reading comprehension is by and large a skill based area which requires a lot of practice, and then whatever else cannot be put into these 4 boxes, okay? So all your paragraph based questions basically, okay? So para jumbles, paragraph odd one out, para completion, all of them fall under this category called VA, which is by and large a technique based area. You need to learn the right approach because the knowledge required, the skill required, all of that is already taken care of in the modules down below. So let us look at these modules one by one, starting with the most important module for your CAT VARC section, and that is verbal reasoning. So within verbal reasoning, there are 4 things that I want you to be comfortable with. The very first one is an understanding of the difference between deductive arguments and inductive arguments. Then there are a couple of areas which lay down the foundation, right? So you have syllogisms and you have logical connectives. Are these directly relevant for the CAT? No, not really, you don't need them. But there is this fourth chapter which benefits when you are good at syllogisms, and that fourth chapter is critical reasoning. So it is this which is crucial, which is very important. You need it for reading comprehension, you need it for parajumbles, and it allows you to discover some clues, figure out some patterns that you may otherwise not see. So I hope by now you have gone through these four things. Okay, then the next important area for us, for very obvious reasons, is reading comprehension. So when I start working with people on reading comprehension, I tell them that there are these 8 elements, there are these 8 learning objectives that we have. So if we become excellent at each one of these 8 learning objectives, I see no reason whatsoever why we not have an 80% plus accuracy rate in RC, and why we not be able to attempt all the passages given to us in the CAT within the stipulated amount of time, right? So what are those 8 learning objectives? 3 of them are skills. So I focus on acquiring these 3 skills a lot, and thereafter our ability to understand different question types in RC. So there are around 20 distinct question types. Then learning to eliminate close answer choices in each one of those 20 different question types. And then a couple of very basic strategy, test taking strategy related things, fine tuning our approach as well as passage prioritization. And then the 8th thing once again is critical reasoning, but we've already covered it under verbal reasoning, so I won't talk about it here, except for the fact that it is crucial. If you look at the last maybe 10 years of the CAT question paper, you'd realize that almost 1/3 of your RC is actually CR. It just looks like RC, it is all disguised critical reasoning. However, if you look at the recent past, you'd realize that the importance of critical reasoning has increased. In fact, when I looked at the slot 1 of CAT 22, I realized that 11 of the 16 RC questions were actually based on critical reasoning. So from 1/3, we have actually reached a juncture where I'd say it is almost 2/3. Right? So if you are ignoring it so far, if you have not focused on mastering it so far, please make sure that you make use of the next 90 days that are ahead of us and get it right. Okay, let's continue. So after reading comprehension, we obviously have verbal ability. So when it comes to the CAT, there are 4 question types that we generally get asked. So we have, of course, parajumbles. Then we have paragraph odd sentence out, we have para completion, which got reintroduced in 22, and then of course we have more or less a regular fixture called paragraph summary or best summary of the paragraph. So in this session I'm limiting myself to the CAT. If you talk about the other entrance exams, you'd also need to include things like fill in the blanks, verbal analogies, odd word out, etc. as well. But if I restrict myself to the CAT, these are the 4 areas that we need to master. So if there is an area that is bothering you still, make sure that you double down on that, go ahead and become comfortable. Then vocabulary. Now when it comes to the CAT exam, vocabulary obviously does not get tested directly. It may get tested indirectly as part of reading comprehension. It helps you in interpreting the passage better, and therefore it is a good idea to work on vocabulary or to continue to work on vocabulary. These are the 2 things that I expect you to know about vocabulary. So number 1, you need to have a strategy for acquiring words, and number 2, you need to have a strategy for retaining words, which is basically learning words through associations. So as long as you have a clarity of these 2 things and you take some step every day, I think you'd be good to go. And then that takes us to the next area, grammar. Just like vocabulary, it is not something that gets asked directly in the CAT exam. It is a part of all the other entrance exams though. In the CAT, it does help you indirectly. In fact, particularly when I am confused about a sentence. So there are times when you read a sentence and you're like, what is the author trying to say? Whenever that happens to me, I put my feet on the table, I break that sentence down into its individual components. I understand the meaning of every component and then I go on to join them all together. Now I am able to do that because I know grammar. It is this deep understanding of grammar that makes it very easy for me to deconstruct an entire sentence into its constituent parts. So when we study grammar, what do we really study? We study these 8 parts of speech, right? And then there are 8 more areas that we typically study when it comes to the B school entrance exams, and here are those other 8 areas. Where the 16th is not technically grammar. I could have put it under RC, put it under vocabulary, whatever. But there are some other exams. So when we talk about ZAT, when we talk about SNAP, we require their understanding, but it is not crucial for the CAT. But that said, why are we talking about grammar if it is not getting asked? The deal is, it indirectly helps, and then, you know, grammar is a vast area. There are other exams that you need to write, and if you ignore it, if you keep it for too late, chances are that you may not be able to do a great job of it. Okay, so that's about grammar. So these are our syllabus items. Now you can take a screenshot, pick up your pen and start ticking all the things that you have gone through. And the things that you have not gone through are the things that you can of course take up on priority moving forward. Okay. Ranit has shared his plan. That sounds interesting. He says daily 4 reading comprehension passages, 10 VA questions, 40 minutes of EON essays. Will that be fine? Let us see. Ranit, I can of course give you an answer right now, but how about telling you a way of finding out whether your preparation is moving towards the right direction or not? Right? So that's the syllabus. Here is the next part. Face the mirror. Now what do we mean by this? You notice whenever we get ready for a party, whenever we get ready for a big occasion, we dress up. And when we dress up, we tend to stand in front of a mirror. Now why do we stand in front of a mirror and look at ourselves? I'd say there is only one reason behind it. When you stand in front of the mirror, you get feedback on your clothes. You get to know whether everything is all right or not, and in case it is not all right, you can fix it on the basis of the feedback that you have received from that mirror. So similarly, when you prepare for the CAT, it's a big occasion in your life. When you prepare for that, it is important for you to face the mirror regularly during your preparation so that you can keep fixing the issues that emerge. So what exactly acts as the mirror in your preparation? So there are 2 things: the section tests and, even more importantly, the mock tests. So your mock test is nothing more than a mirror. When you sit down and write the mock, you get to know whether things are going ahead the right way or not, whether things are moving ahead in the right direction or not. That's all that is needed. Absolutely, yes, Siddharth. You actually got it even before I shared it. So please make sure that you become very regular with your mock tests. Here is a suggested frequency. So for the next 30 days, try and write 1 mock every 6 days. Okay, that should give you enough practice, loads of it. Then from day 31 to 60, increase the frequency a bit more. Get into 1 mock every 5 days, and from day number 61 to 84, 2 mocks every week. So we are increasing the frequency even further. This is a 90-day plan, right? So what happened to day 85 to 90? I'm personally not very fond of writing mocks in the last week. If you want to, you can go ahead and write it, no harm. But I would definitely not want you to write a mock in the last 3 days, for sure. Personally recommend that don't do it for the last 7 days. Okay, and we talk about spending a week before the exam when we reach that juncture. But I hope this gives you a clarity. Additionally, if you need more practice over the course of next 30 days, and you need more practice if you've mastered the syllabus, right? So if you've finished the syllabus, you've also worked reasonably on a lot of different areas individually, then you may think of adding a section test in between. Okay. So what these mocks will do is that they'll help you build your test taking stamina. They will help you discover the test taking strategy that works best for you in a particular type of exam. And in general, they will keep ensuring that you are pushed beyond your comfort zone. Okay, one extra thing that I'd like to suggest, in case you are writing a section test or a mock test at home, okay, not in a simulated exam condition, instead of 40 minutes, give yourself 37 minutes, right? After a while, instead of giving yourself 40 minutes when you work on a test at home, give yourself 37 minutes for VARC section. That 3-minute reduction will make it a little more challenging for you. It will at least help us balance out the effect of pressure. When you sit down to write the actual exam, there is a bit of pressure, right? So those 3 minutes will essentially prepare you better for dealing with that extra pressure. So anything else that you want to share? Siddharth Shankar, you're getting 88% in VARC. 88%. You're getting 88%. You're definitely 99 percentile plus. And what's this emoji? Man, where do you guys even get these new fancy emojis? Where are they? Oh, I never even explored the YouTube chat window. It actually has a lot of different emojis. मतलब मुझे नॉर्मल वालों का मीनिंग इतनी मुश्किल से पता चला था, अब ये वाले और ढूंढने पड़ेंगे मुझे बैठ के. So anyhow, so I hope you clear. So stand in front of the mirror, and finally, you know, the mirror does give you some feedback. So make sure that you use that feedback to take some effective corrective action. So how do you do that? You do that by analyzing the mocks. So I'll tell you typically what I do. So I sit down and write a mock. Thereafter, when I analyze, I realize that there are these questions that I attempted. There are questions that I could not attempt. Right? Within attempted questions, there were questions that I was sure of. So I call them high confidence questions. And then there are questions that I was not sure of. Okay, so these were essentially low confidence questions or flukes, as we call them at times. So no matter which category it is, some of these questions you managed to get right, some of these questions you managed to get wrong. And then of course there are these questions that you could not attempt, and then you have to sit down and ask yourself why it is that you could not attempt it. So that's the domain, right? Fair enough. So what do I do? Let us see. So there are some flukes that I ended up getting right. Now a lot of people, because they've ended up getting those flukes right, they may not really look at it after the exam, but then you are lucky. This time around your fluke was right. What if it does not turn out to be right the next time around? and therefore you need to take some special measure. So for flukes that turn out to be right, please make sure that you revise those areas so that you can shift them from low confidence to high confidence. Okay, and then the questions that you could not solve or the questions that you could not get right, let me just add it in order to avoid that confusion. Ask yourself, yeah, why is it that you could not get that question right, or why is it that you could not even solve it? So it could be that you lack the relevant knowledge. There is a possibility that you were not aware of the right technique, and then in some cases it can also be a paucity of time. You knew how to solve them, but then you just ran out of time. So if you could not attempt it because of this lack of knowledge, please make sure that you go ahead and acquire it. If it's a technique issue, please make sure that you learn the technique. If it's a time issue, you can work a little more on your question selection, your time management, and your speed. Right? I am suddenly not able to see your chat. What happened? Okay, now it is there. So some of the questions. The believer, BYJU mocks enough or need more mocks? Believer, that should be more than enough. You know that we give you more than 80 mocks in all. You'd be lucky if you, I'd be really happy and amazed if you managed to attempt all of those. But in between, whenever there's an all India open mock that happens, even if it is at a non-BYJU institution, whenever an open mock happens for free, please make sure that you go ahead and write those tests as well. Then Siddharth, making mistakes in parajumbles. Siddharth, I'd be taking dedicated sessions on parajumbles. I have been taking them for that matter. You can revisit those. I'm sure that will help. Otherwise, discussing your specific issues with the faculty would actually be very useful. Then Ranit, so far my best mock percentile has been 99.98. That's a great feeling, man. Keep it up, Keep it up. That sounds fantastic. Okay. And Ranit says, so last mock on 22nd November. Yeah, 26th is the exam. I personally do not prefer that you write it for the last week. So actually, I would say the last one should be around 19th November, 20th November. Okay. But then if you're comfortable, you can actually go ahead and write it till around 22nd. Here is, so basically our goal is, all these syllabus items, you attempt the mocks, you learn, and then this is the goal. Shift everything. So when I say everything, I'm basically saying every item of the syllabus to the rightmost column. Now, what do you mean by rightmost column? Well, let me draw those columns and let me tell you. So pick up all the syllabus items and put them in one of these three columns. So what are these three columns? Now, the rightmost column basically talks about your areas of comfort. These are areas where your accuracy rate is typically in excess of 70%. Then the leftmost column represents your areas of discomfort. Your accuracy rate here tends to be below 50%. And then you have this in between gray area. These are areas where your accuracy rate is between 50% to 70%. So 3 columns, right? Now, which of these columns you think leads to steady scores? The rightmost, right? This is the column that leads to guaranteed scores. The leftmost column is typically an area that you do not even attempt, and the rightmost column, the column in the middle, sorry, this is the danger zone. This is the column that actually ends up wasting a lot of our time. Why? So these are questions that you look at, and then you're not very sure of whether you should attempt these or not. And then if you do choose to attempt these, you would not be very sure of how to attempt these, so you'd have to spend some time there. And then when you do attempt it, there are times when it goes right, there are times when it goes wrong. So this is a column that eats up a lot of your time, and it takes that time, but it does not provide you with the kind of results that you really want or deserve. So when you sit down to write a mock, everything which is in danger zone, think of it as something that belongs to areas of discomfort. Don't attempt these. First up, attempt only those things that are your areas of comfort. And then in between two mocks, you have 6 days. What do you do in those 6 days? In those 6 days, I want you to pick up some things from the column in the middle and shift them to your areas of comfort. Once all the gray areas are exhausted, then start picking up things from areas of discomfort and shift them to the rightmost column. So the goal of our preparation is that gradually, eventually, every area should go on and become an area of comfort for us, where our accuracy rate is in excess of 70%. So in the exam, question selection is largely driven by your self-awareness. If you know the chapters that are a part of your areas of comfort, you can start with those. If you don't even know that, you'll essentially be shooting in the dark. Okay, and then gradually keep adding areas to areas of comfort, and I personally do that by assigning a very concrete timeline. So when I say a very concrete timeline, I basically look at devoting a certain number of hours, or going through it for a certain number of days, or maybe in some cases attempting a certain number of questions in order to shift it there. So let me help you create a schedule. So if I were to prepare, then in these 90 days, you know what I'd do? When it comes to reading comprehension, which is the most dominant area, at this juncture, I want you to be attempting 12 passages a week outside of your mocks. Okay? So you'd obviously also be writing mocks. In case your accuracy rate in RC is already great, then you can increase it further. And after every 3 weeks, add 4 more passages to the list. So after 3 weeks, it will become 16 passages a week. After 3 weeks, it will become 20 passages a week. So on and so forth. Right? So you can jack up that number gradually. So at this juncture, you should definitely be attempting or going through 12 passages every week. Now, while going through these passages, you can check yourself. You can ask about areas of concern. So for instance, you'd say, is speed an issue? If you think that is an issue, then you need to introduce a speed session to your preparation plan. I've already talked about that in my classes, and maybe we've actually taken a skill session on YouTube as well, so you can look at that. Is your accuracy an issue? Then the first thing that I want you to do is identify a trend or a pattern in your mistakes. So there are these 20 different question types. So is there a particular type which you get wrong more often? So for instance, a lot of people come to me and say that, oh sir, we get these main idea questions wrong very often, or we get these inference based questions wrong very often. Right? So identify a trend. So let us say that you identified that, hey, it's the inference based question which seems to be an issue with me. My accuracy rate here in this question type is low. Then the corrective action is, once you've identified the pattern, the action will be that, hey, you need to go ahead and work on critical reasoning. So master identify the assumption questions, then move over to identify the inference questions. So give yourself 7 days. When you say in these 7 days, I will be absolutely clear with assumption and inference, and when that clarity emerges, you'd come back and you'd notice that the mock that you write after 10 days, you'd start getting these inference based questions right there. Your accuracy rate should go beyond 80%. On the other hand, if these 7 days prove to be inadequate and your accuracy in the CR questions is below 70% still, maybe spend 3 more days. So keep at critical reasoning until you start getting around 80% accuracy, and that eventually will translate into you're getting better at RC as well. Similarly, for main idea question, maybe you need to work on enhancing your overview, and for the rest of the question types in general, your accuracy could be low because maybe you are not familiar with a particular area. So whenever passages come from that area, you face more challenges, or perhaps it is an issue of comprehension. You are somebody who has not done a lot of reading in life, or you are somebody who is perhaps not very comfortable with English as such. So in those cases, you may choose to work on familiarity and comprehension in isolation. So if accuracy is an issue, the moment you identify a pattern, a trend in your mistakes, that trend, that pattern will point us towards the next course of action. So Ranit, I hope it was Ranit who, Ranit, when you asked me at the beginning what needs to be done, I'd say at this juncture, there is no generic answer that I can offer or that I would like to offer. It all boils down to the kind of challenges that you're facing right now, the kind of mistakes that you're making right now. Your challenges, your mistakes, they are the ones who should guide you forward. So if you are getting less than 70 percentile in VARC, it means that we have issues with basics itself. So you obviously can follow a generic plan that will help. And if you are getting more than 92 percentile, I think a generic plan will not work. You need to look at your unique challenges and then work along those lines, right? So it depends. Yes, Shanky, you can be, you will be, absolutely. Okay, so that's about RC. Then the other area that we have in the CAT exam is what? Verbal ability. So I want you to start with para summary and then ask yourself, is your accuracy rate around 70-80% and above? If not, then here is your target. Sit down, solve 50 questions of para summary over the course of next 5 to 7 days and analyze. If you get a question wrong, analyze, right? And then hopefully after 5 days, 7 days, you should feel comfortable with it. Right? Then next, once you've done with paragraph summary, move over to paragraph odd one out. Is your accuracy rate 70 percentile plus? If not, another target is 50 questions of paragraph odd one out. After that, you move over to para jumbles and then ask, is your accuracy above 70? No. Sit down and I want you to now go ahead and attempt 100 para jumble questions. Right? So you'd probably attempt them over a course of 10 to 14 days, right? So let me just add these numbers here: 5 to 7 days, 5 to 7 days, 10 to 14 days, and then finally para completion questions, another 50. So they'll probably end up taking you 7 days, right? So all in all, at the outset, we are talking about approximately 5 weeks. So at the end of these 5 weeks, you should have an accuracy rate which is greater than 70%. After these 5 weeks, then you can reorient yourself towards working on the speed. Then you can start thinking of if you can go ahead and attempt these faster. And mind you, alongside these weeks, you'd also be writing mocks, maybe even section tests, and all of those things will also add up. So that's about your verbal ability plan. So I hope I've given you plenty of clarity with respect to the syllabus and the approach and the requirements. Right? So if you have any more questions, feel more than free to ask. But I'd like to leave you with this one very clear-cut thought, and that is, 99 percentile will mean getting 13 to 15 questions correct. Okay, in fact, if I put it in marks, for the last 2 years we needed 38 to 45 marks. And even if I look at it historically we needed to have, so when I say historically, I'm saying in the last 10 years, you needed somewhere between 55% to 78%. Sorry guys. 55% to 78% to get a 99 percentile. It is not a very difficult, it is not a very challenging task. Okay, and above all, have faith in yourself. Learn to back yourself. I very firmly believe that you have it in you to get this particular score. You've been preparing hard so far. Continue this journey sensibly and you can definitely do it. And here is another perspective that you'll find useful in your journey forward. Do not let yesterday take up too much of today. We at times worry about what went by, what happened, whether you studied or not, you attempted mocks or not, whether you could go out and give your best or not. All that is in the past. What matters is, can you move on from that thought pattern and now go ahead and start delivering from today on. And a lot of you are asking, where can we get these from? Yeah, I'm sure by now you must have some material. So you can use BYJU'S exam prep app, where we upload these section tests or topic tests. You can tap into those. You can also consider enrolling for our test series, which gives you more than 80 mocks. And it also happens to have topic tests. So you can use these to make sure that you have plenty of material to prepare for preparation. So Moin, I hope that addresses it. Ranit, when you say, do we need to practice para summary? Remember my instructions were very clear. Just look at your accuracy rate in that particular question type. Is it below 70%? Then you definitely need to work. If it is between 70 to 80%, your choice. Although I'd prefer that you still work. If it's above 80, then you can choose to skip it. Okay. Additionally, we have our next All India Open mock happening from 8th of September. So we have one more week to go. I hope you took full advantage of the last mock. If you could not, here is another chance for you to benchmark yourself against some of the best competition that you have in the country right now, right? Additionally, if you want to learn more about some areas, you can unlock your 3-day free trial. They'll give you access to our course. You can pick and choose. I know 3 days aren't enough, but if you know that there are just a couple of areas that you wanted to go through with a faculty member, you can refer to those lectures. But chances are that once you unlock this trial and go through our sessions for 3 days, you'd be tempted to join our comprehensive program, and that's what I'm hoping for actually. It's a really proven program which has given great results in the past, and you can also sit for a scholarship test that'll make it really cheap for you to join it at this juncture. So do that as well. And here is a workshop for those who are preparing for CAT 24. If you or anyone you know is focusing on CAT 24, do recommend this workshop to them. Ask them to register for it, and they benefit immensely by participating in it. Okay, so that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you guys once again in our next session together. Until then, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Okay, take care and have a great time ahead. Oh, and don't forget